You're about to learn that artificial intelligence companies just spent $27 million on a single local election, not a presidential race, not even a Senate seat, a Congress race in New York's 12th district, a district most Americans couldn't locate on a map. This isn't traditional lobbying or campaign donations playing by the usual rules. This is a brand new kind of political warfare, and it just happened at your doorstep. The AI industry created what's called a super PAC, an organization that can raise unlimited money specifically to influence elections, and they deployed it to win a race where the average voter has absolutely no idea why suddenly every ad on their phone is about a candidate they've never heard of. Here's what's wild. The candidate they backed actually won. The PAC spent money on advertising, direct mail, and digital campaigns that blanketed New York's 12th district with messaging about artificial intelligence policy, cryptocurrency, and deregulation. But this isn't just about one election anymore. What happened in New York could become a template. If it worked once, corporate interests will replicate it in your district, your state, your local races. And nobody will see it coming until it's too late. Here's where the real story starts. So what exactly is a super PAC? Think of it as a legal loophole the United States Supreme Court accidentally created. Back in 2010, the Supreme Court ruled in a case called Citizens United that corporations have free speech rights just like people do. That meant corporations could spend unlimited money on elections without disclosing who's bankrolling the campaign. Super PACs emerged as a workaround. They are technically independent organizations that can raise unlimited funds to run ads supporting or opposing candidates. The catch is they're not allowed to coordinate directly with the candidate they are backing. In practice, that line is blurry at best. The AI industry watched this unfold over 16 years and thought, we could use this. They'd been trying to influence policy through traditional channels, lobbying, campaign donations. Think tanks, but local elections are cheap and wide open. A well-funded super PAC can dominate a congressional race in a district where typical spending is in the single-digit millions. That's the calculus. New York's 12th district cost $27 million to win. But here's where it gets complicated. If this playbook works once, it becomes a recipe that every industry will copy. The super PAC behind the New York race is called Protect Progress PAC. It was founded and funded by people deeply embedded in the AI industry, venture capitalists, startup founders, and tech executives who want to make sure the next Congress passes favorable AI policies. The core agenda is straightforward. Keep AI regulation light, protect cryptocurrency and blockchain innovation, and elect candidates who won't push for strict AI safety requirements or transparency rules. The donors are mostly anonymous. That's the whole point of a super PAC structure. But we know it includes prominent AI investors and entrepreneurs who have publicly argued that overregulation will slow AI progress and harm the United States' ability to compete with China. One key figure is Alex Bors, a tech entrepreneur who's been pushing the AI industry to get more involved in politics. He saw the opening. New York's 12th district was competitive, the population was reachable, and the media market was relatively cheap. So the PAC flooded the district with digital ads, mailers, and grassroots organizing. The goal was to elect someone who'd support pro-AI, pro-crypto policies in Congress. And it worked. That success is going to inspire more super PACs focused on AI, crypto, and tech policy. But wait, there's something most coverage gets wrong about this. Let's look at the actual race. New York's 12th congressional district covers parts of Manhattan and the Bronx, a district with roughly 700,000 people. The 2026 race was between the incumbent and a challenger. Protect Progress PAC spent $27 million supporting the challenger, which is extraordinary for a local race. In a typical congressional race, candidates and their official campaigns spend $3 to $5 million total. This single super PAC more than quintupled that spending. The ads they ran focused heavily on AI policy, deregulation, and economic opportunity. They portrayed AI as a tool for job creation and innovation, not something to fear or restrict. They also emphasized cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as economic opportunities. Messaging was sophisticated. Instead of saying vote for this person because AI companies want them to, the ads framed the candidate as pro-growth, pro-jobs, pro-innovation. They avoided alienating regular voters by talking too much about AI itself. Instead, they talked about economic growth, improving schools, and cutting red tape. The Super PAC also did ground-level organizing, phone banking, door-to-door canvassing, and local media buys in Spanish, English, and other languages spoken in the district. The candidate won. The margin was narrow, but the outcome was clear, and this is just the beginning. To understand how massive $27 million is for a local election, consider this. In 2022, the average congressional race, nationwide, including districts in major cities, cost about $2 million total. That's for all candidates and all committees combined. In New York's 12th, one Super PAC spent nearly 14 times that amount. If you compare it to state-level races, it's still stunning. A typical state governor's race in a major state, like New York, might see $50 to $100 million spent across all campaigns and Super PACs combined. The AI Super PAC's spending on a single congressional district is roughly a quarter of a major gubernatorial race. Scale it up. If this happens in 50 congressional districts simultaneously, we're talking about $1.35 billion mobilized purely to elect AI-friendly candidates. That would be one of the largest coordinated political spending campaigns in American history, and the AI industry can afford it. The major AI companies, OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, XI, collectively have access to tens of billions of dollars in funding from venture capital and corporate profits. They can mobilize $27 million for a single race without breaking a sweat. That's the asymmetry that should alarm every voter in America. Here's what this means. We're watching the early stages of a new form of corporate capture of American democracy. Super PACs have existed for 16 years, but they've been dominated by billionaires, corporations, and industry groups, oil, pharmaceuticals, insurance companies, banks. Now artificial intelligence, an industry that's only a few years old at this scale, is proving it can outspend everyone on specific races. The implications are massive. First, candidates in local races can't compete with Super PAC spending. If you're a congressional candidate running on your own, you're massively outgunned. Second, voters in targeted districts will be bombarded with messaging they didn't ask for and often don't understand. Most people don't even know what a Super PAC is or that they are being targeted by one. Third, policies that affect AI, safety requirements, transparency rules, data privacy protections will increasingly be decided by candidates who owe their elections to the AI industry's Super PACs. It's regulatory capture happening in real time. The AI industry isn't just lobbying Congress anymore. They're buying Congress one district at a time, and they're proving it works. If this becomes the template, every tech company, every industry group, every wealthy interest will replicate this strategy. Local elections, the races that actually affect zoning, school boards, and municipal policy, will become battlegrounds for corporate Super PAC spending. And this is what nobody predicted. So how do you know if a Super PAC is targeting your district? Here are the warning signs. First, watch for a sudden flood of ads about a specific candidate or issue you've never heard discussed before. If ads spike dramatically in a short time period, especially about a local race, that's a sign of outside money. Second, look at who's paying for the ads. Federal law requires Super PACs to disclose their funding sources, though sometimes the sources are hidden behind shell organizations. You can check FEC.gov, the Federal Election Commission website, to see who's behind the spending. Third, pay attention to the messaging. If ads are hyper-focused on a narrow policy issue, like AI regulation or cryptocurrency, and don't align with traditional conservative or progressive messaging, that's often a sign of a single-issue Super PAC. Fourth, ask yourself, where is this candidate's actual base? If they are winning with ads instead of door-to-door support and community endorsements, Super PAC funding is doing the heavy lifting. Fifth, ignore emotional appeals and focus on actual policy. What does the candidate believe? What's their voting record? Don't let a slick Super PAC campaign make you vote against your real interests. You have power here. Use it. Vote based on what you believe, not on what the richest corporations want. Here's the bottom line. What happened in New York's 12th district is going to happen again. Corporate interests, especially the AI industry, have discovered that local elections are cheap, winnable, and they offer massive policy influence. A $27 million bet in a congressional race might sound insane, but it's an investment in future policy. If the AI industry can elect a Congress filled with pro-AI, light regulation candidates, they avoid billions of dollars in compliance costs down the line. From their perspective, $27 million is pocket change. What this means for you, the future of tech policy in this country isn't being decided by voters anymore. It's being decided by venture capital and corporate boards. But here's the counterbalance. You still vote. Local elections still matter. And informed voters are the only thing that can compete with corporate super PAC spending. Pay attention to your local races. Find out who's funding the ads you see. Talk to your friends and family about politics. Volunteer for candidates you actually believe in. Democracy is expensive. Super PACs proved that. But democracy is still possible if voters show up and pay attention. The question is, will you?